Welcome to Hiccups and Hot Flashes, where every hiccup is a hidden gift and every hot flash a power move. We're your hosts. I'm Dannie, a certified body mind life coach.
I'm Dori, a trauma informed midlife resilience coach.
And I'm Kim, a self sovereignty coach.
We're three coaches, two moms, and one single gal who all love human design and have real conversations about navigating midlife transitions with awareness, resilience, fresh perspectives, and a mission to give voice to the voiceless. Let's get into it.
Okay, cool. Well, all right, so we are going to get into this episode. We are going to be talking about getting out of your head and back into your body. And honestly, we know this is a topic that is very relevant to all ages, but we're focused on those navigating the complexities of midlife. So we're going to be keeping it to that part of the playground, right? We're going to touch on what people may call the mental maze, understanding what being in your head actually looks like and what it feels like. We're going to explore what it means to drop into your body, and, that physical self and why it even matters. We're going to look at some practical tools and maybe some techniques and go through an exercise to help us shift into presence. And then we'll take a look at how to maintain this body awareness. Yeah, and I think that's about it. So if there's anything else that might come up, then it will come up. But we're going to focus on that and see where it goes. So are you ladies ready?
Ready or not?
Here we go. All right, so all right. We have heard, as I said, the saying, get out of your body and get out of your head and get back into your body. And we know what that means on the surface level, in a general sense is, we're talking about overthinking, rumination, dwelling on past events and constantly having our mind think about what's happening next or what's coming up and looking to the future. There's analysis paralysis, and there's autopilot where, we're we're so in our minds and we're operating and we're not even paying attention. And do have a I know someone who would be driving on autopilot and just driving safe, everything's fine, but they're not there. Like they're not in the car. They're not really focusing, paying attention. And it's just like when you think about it, it's like, wait, is that safe? And
So,
I know a lot of people do that. Yeah.
can I say something about that?
Yeah.
So, um, dissociation, dissociation has a spectrum, and they're on the um, severe end of dissociation is like something called DID, which is a dissociative identity disorder. And then on the light, like on the um, I guess the light end of that spectrum is just like doing things in autopilot. You get somewhere and you don't even know, you're not even aware. So that's all, we all dissociate. You can be in the classroom paying it, like you're looking at your teacher, you hear the words coming out of her mouth, but you're thinking about your vacation that you just took, kind of a
Hmm.
thing. That's all dissociate. So everyone does it. It's depending on that body, mind. Anyways, I just wanted
Yeah.
to say something about that since you were bringing it up.
Is okay. So before we get into, what to do to get back into your body and why it's important, I do want to break down the two sides a bit to understand like the physical, the mental, and the emotional challenges that are associated with staying in your head. Um, and so I have a question about that. When people hear about, disassociating, is that a bad thing? People think, oh no, it's terrible, it's bad, and I shouldn't be doing that. But you're saying, you know, it it is a normal thing.
Yeah,
Is that how people?
daydreaming is dissociating. Like it's
Oh,
under that umbrella. It's where you are here in this space, but your mind is somewhere else. So it's not a bad thing. It's just it becomes a disorder when it's chronic.
gotcha. Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, so let's kind of talk about what it means to be in your head. And so I was doing a little bit of research, and of course, Psychology Today always has something to say. So I'm just going to read this. It says, to be in your head usually means overthinking or overanalyzing a situation. Your mind can wander to the future and you might worry about things that can possibly happen, or it can wander to the past and replay the bad events that happened previously. So I'm wondering, what is your perspective or your thoughts about, maybe through the coaching lens, maybe through somatic experiences in body work, maybe through a traumatic experience. What is your take on being in the head? What does it mean to you? Open invitation to anyone.
Oof.
Yeah, that's to me, that means being in your head is trying to figure out everything logically, to analyze, to figure things out, and that's something that's coveted in our society, is being really heady and figuring it out and being smart and all of those kinds of things. And I think what that does is it brings that energy up, and you can feel it. You can feel the swirl in the head. You can feel the disconnections, like you might forget things. You might be your energy levels might be low because it's just that constant grind upstairs. And that's
Hmm.
what also leads to a lot of overwhelm. And I know a lot of us feel this in our daily lives just because of our modern society. And we often don't have time. We feel like, or we're telling ourselves, well, I don't have time to stop and get myself into my body because there's things that have to be done.
Hmm.
And I think that starts to become a loop for us and can cause dis-ease in our bodies and show up with migraines and thyroid disorders and stomach issues and skin things and just you name it. So much.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's like what you're saying is it starts in the head and it really affects the whole body because the body's screaming, and it's screaming and it's responding, and you were mentioning all these things and I'm like, okay, yeah, burnout, definitely. I have my burnout story. And so I'm looking at it as just this rumination. And for me and probably others like me, um, we're always trying to figure something out, to process things and find the answer. And for just quantum human design, when you're just looking at the defined head and ajna, we get these inspirations and we have these ideas. And then it's like, okay, I need to make this happen. I need to bring it into form and create something out of it. And you kind of get stuck because the ajna is the mind, and you're thinking and you're thinking and you're thinking. But if you're open to it, if you have an open centers, you're literally have an open mind where all of this can come and flow. But you don't have to think about things if they don't really have anything to do with you. So for me, yeah, rumination has been a big thing. I will have an idea, I will keep thinking about it, I would be worried about other people trying to fix and solve problems, and it has led to burnout because all in my head and I wasn't really paying attention or being present. I also fantasize, well,
Yeah.
daydream. Yeah, I don't want to say fantasize. Daydream, that sounds
Well,
terrible.
yeah.
One thing I wanted to add with that is that the brain works in a way that it works on past experiences. And so it catalogs things.
Mhm.
And so when we're accessing our brain for like decision making, for instance, we're coming from those past experiences. So in the past, this happened to me. And so if I do this, this is going to happen. And it takes a lot for the brain to understand that that won't happen again. And so that sometimes will keep us in a loop as well. It's kind of that comfort zone where we've always come from, and it's very easy to get stuck there. And when we access the wisdom, the deeper wisdom of our body, we can connect the body mind, and so the brain can do its job and the body can do its job, and they co-create.
Mm.
Yeah, I heard the other day I was listening to something and I heard that we can break everything down when it comes to our pain. We can break everything down to two basic emotions. And that's hurt or fear. And hurt is always going to be about the past, and fear is going to be about the future. And when you are not working like, and pain, you're going to feel that in your body, right? And if you can't get into your body, so your question was, what does it mean? Like, what was your question? What does it mean to
Yeah, yeah.
drop
What
down
does
into
it
body?
mean what does it mean to be in your head, to
Okay,
constantly
yeah.
be in your head? Yeah.
So to constantly be in my head means I'm not able to tolerate discomfort. It means that I'm not able to confront, I'm not able to self-confront. And all of that has to do with that hurt, that past hurt and the future fear. So that's what it
Mm.
means for, I mean, I can't say that is how it is for everyone. I'm just that's what's
Mhm.
off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, I heard that quote that brought it up is that hurt and fear inform, like fear
Mm-hmm.
informs future hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a cycle.
Right.
And some of us we're just not aware. And that's what I think
Mhm.
is beautiful about kind of what we're doing here is just bringing awareness into these spaces so that we can gently move into other patterns, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you mentioned some things, and I was just wondering, are they kind of triggers that send you back up into your that send it back up into your head? Like, does certain things happen, it automatically makes you think, oh, this is why, and this is what I was thinking, and just kind of start replaying things over again. So I guess maybe,
Ruminating. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's just like, what are some triggers that maybe you yourself have to deal with, or other people are triggered by, that will immediately take them out of, the present, take them out of the awareness and go straight up to their head. Is there anything that you can think of? I
Many things,
I
really.
I will say that
Yeah.
there's certain things, you know, like at work for a job. If actually, something just popped up. So you're at work, and maybe your boss or somebody says, "Hey, do you have a minute? Can you come into my office?" And suddenly you've done nothing, but what did I do? What happened? Am I going to get fired? It's usually something negative. It's just, what did I do? What happened? What just happened? Who did I say something to? Who said something to me? You're totally in your head. And it could be that, hey, they just want to, say good job, or just have a quick little conversation about whatever it is that you're working on, a project or something. But your mind automatically goes to, nope, did something wrong, the negative.
Well, it's interesting that you use that example. I mean, I can totally relate to that. It's interesting that you use that example because what I'm hearing is like your boss would represent authority of some sort. And when you are being singled out, it can feel like the association was I'm in trouble, which is that. So that's the past,
Hmm.
unresolved, and then um, the future fear, right? And your brain is,
Hmm.
and so and it's not until you can, I know we're going to talk about this, but it's not until you can drop down into your body and really figure out what is that, because that rumination is solving the unsolvable problem. It's like the question that can never be solved. Well, of course, like we have more, Danny, this might be your wheelhouse, but is it neurons? We have more neurons in our heart and more neurons in our gut than we do in our brain. And so there's more informing us about what's going on about us coming from our body than there is our head. And so when we are stuck in our head, the information that we have is about what's actually going on and how to navigate through that experience is very limited.
Yeah, I just want to put this in here that that's often called a top-down approach from head
Mm.
to body, and a bottom-up approach from body to head. And it can go both ways. Like there is a value there. Um, and I love that you brought up there's so much more information we're able to come from the body. And the The body, this is how I see it. The brain can do past and the brain can do future, but it often doesn't do present, but the body does.
Mhm.
That's how we bring ourselves present. And it can be challenging because it might be discomfort that we're sensing. But if we're sensing into like, okay, the quality of my breath, and this might even come later, but just these sensory perceptions in our body to ground us into the present, then things shift. And you can also think about this in your mind, like, oh yeah, I can think about and theorize how this process might work. But until you actually do it, I think there's something really powerful in that experience of feeling that inside of yourself.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's actually the perfect segue into, feeling into the body's wisdom. So just to shift the focus to the body, as you were just saying, um, if being in your head is about mental noise, the rumination, and the thinking about the past and present fear and hurt, what does it mean to be in your body? To really feel it. Um, of course, I Googled it. And so Google says being in your body refers to being present and aware of your physical sensations. Um, it, to be aware of your physical sensation, emotions, and experiences rather than being primarily preoccupied with thoughts or abstract ideas. It's about feeling a strong connection to your physical self rather than feeling disconnected or detached. So, Danny, I'm wondering what their thoughts about that are. And Dori, do you agree with that? Or how would you define that? And if either one of you can expand on it some.
Go ahead, Dori. I see you.
Um, okay, so you're talking about feeling a strong connection to the physical self rather than the disconnected or detached.
Yes.
Um, the phrase, I don't think I'm going to get it right, but it's I wouldn't know where I was going if my head wasn't attached, kind of a thing. That's what comes to my mind. We really need, like what Danny was talking about in terms of the loop, like we really need both parts. And yet, okay, I just had an experience the other day where I was talking to my therapist and I was in her office and we were talking about something and I was confronting something that has been it's just been a block for a really long time. And I've been just hammering away at it from all different angles for for probably about 4 months. And I got to a point where I could tell I had busted through the block. And I went, like, literally, I'm sitting there talking to her and I'm paying attention to how, like, what my thoughts are, but I'm allowing the thoughts to, um, like, I guess I'm allowing myself to actually feel what it is I'm talking about and I'm feeling into the words. And I could feel sensations in like my legs, and I started to feel sensation in my feet that I wasn't before. And that was a huge indicator that I was much more embodied in my experience. I didn't realize how much I was in my head until that moment. So that's kind of that's what came to me as you were asking this question. But I think the bottom line was my body was giving me the feedback that I'm on the right track. Keep going, keep leaning into this.
Yeah, I think that's really important because then it becomes a felt sense.
Mhm.
And I think we get caught up in our thoughts, and we are not our thoughts. And if we can
Mhm.
take the thoughts like you did in that process and sort of let them drift into our felt sense, like when I think this thought, is there any temperature change, pressure, any sensations, colors, sounds, maybe even pictures or things that come up? What are we sensing that's connected to that? That's beautiful information if we're present to hear it.
Hmm. Yeah,
It-
I have I'm learning now to really listen to my body in the present instead of going back and say, oh, in hindsight, I'm not living in hindsight and going, oh, that's what that meant. That's what that feeling, that tingling or that warmth felt. And I remember very recently, in fact, I was, working on something, working on a project, and kind of decided this is what this is working. It's, I'm following the direction, what I need to do, what I want to do. And usually I may just say, okay, is this right? I'm not trusting my intuition, but I felt it. And at the same time, and I was like, oh my gosh, my body, it's warm. Like I felt it kind of expand out. And I said, is this what a yes feels like? Is this what this feeling, the splitting hit maybe, just whatever it is. I'm like, oh, this is good. Now I also had the feeling of this tingling that shot up my spine. And I've had that a couple times. That was not a good feeling. That was an absolute, my body saying, no, don't do this. Please don't do this. And I go, oh, yeah, sure, sure, sure. I can do that. Because I got up in my head and going, oh, if I say no, then I'm gonna feel guilty or I'm gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna feel some shame about whatever it is, or someone's gonna think something about me. So my body was saying no. My mind, because your mind thinks it's like, oh, I know what's best for us. Yeah.
Okay, I want to say it's interesting how your brain like went into explaining because I can totally relate to this. How your brain went into, oh, this must be why my body's telling me this. So you're in that sense, you're still in your brain or you're still in your mind, right? Your brain. And yet your body's just saying no. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter why our body's saying no. It's just like the answer's no and trust it. I don't know. That was just an interesting thought. I can so relate to that. That was actually really helpful.
You know what I find interesting here too, as well, is that especially when working with people and trying to get down to the bottom line of what we're desiring or what we want, it's usually, a lot of times we say money, lose weight, but really it's a feeling. It's a feeling we're looking
Mhm.
for. And often we think thoughts that create the feeling that we want. And so I think that's something important to keep in your pocket, that sometimes we'll be like, oh, my body is saying a yes to this. And then my mind says, oh, but I shouldn't do this because of whatever else, whatever belief systems and things that I have adopted over time that limit me there. And so there is this back and forth kind of battle, if you will, between mind and body. And for me, really, that boils down to, like, if we are looking at our very true to us core values, it's easier for us to understand the um, the messages coming through will be more clear, because if you're in line with your values and you know what a yes means in your body, you know how to follow that. And the
Mhm.
minute you feel that dissonance between what I feel is true and what I think is true, that becomes that resistance. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to it. That's a rabbit hole, but of that are being
Another episode, right?
clear, yeah, being clear about what our true values are, because then it helps us fortify ourselves in our lives and in making decisions and understanding what we really
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we need to get going on to the next segment, but I want to just say because I just had like this aha as I was listening to both of you talk, which was um we like so Danny, what you were talking about was the subconscious versus the conscious, right?
want.
And the subconscious is going to be how like our feelings and those emotions and how like all of that information coming up from our body is coming from that subconscious place and it's starting to be realized. And then there has to be this process that we use our brain to do to start articulating what it is. And then in that process, we become consciously aware of what we're feeling, right? And I find it so interesting. The aha that I had was I try and do the opposite. I try and stay present in my brain with all the thoughts that are like have nothing to do with what's actually going on. It's all the possibilities of what could be, and they're all problematic. And but if I can stop and listen to my body, I'm actually, like you said, I'm in the present moment. Anyways, that was a big like, oh, I flip it and I gotta flip it right back. So
Yeah, it's that enhanced self-understanding. It's really understanding your body as a source of wisdom. You have
mhm,
that information. You have it is that mind-body connection. You need both.
honoring it.
Yeah, you can't just have one be like, okay, I'm get out of my mind and drop into my body, and now I'm just being present. You still have to think. You're processing stuff. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of thoughts every second. Um, and your body's responding, our body's reacting. We have our environment, the people around us. That's what we have to really, be take note of and be aware of. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think you could consider the mind and body or the brain and body to be like a co-creation,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? They're constantly co-creating.
I like to refer to them sometimes as the body mind complex
Mm,
Hmm.
because they're partners.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Woo! I'm feeling it.
Fire, woman, fire. Yeah, this is Dori. This is the Dori. She's on fire.
She got there. She got there.
So good.
So here's my question. Um, how do you know when you're truly in your body? I mean, I know we've talked about the sensations and things like that, but for, I guess, each of you, whether for you or someone else, maybe someone's talked about it, what does that feel like? So if for someone who's listening and they're going, I don't know what being present is like. I don't know what do you mean being in your body? I don't know what it feels like. That's so brand new to me. I mean, I would love to do it, but and I say that because years ago, I was training for Reiki, and I was actually having this conversation with someone else, and I was like, I can't do Reiki. I'm like, I'm not feeling the energy in my hands because I'm listening or have was listening to other people say what it's supposed to feel like. Oh, tingling, this and that. And I'm just going, I don't feel it. I don't do it. But then, years later, and I do mean years later, um, it was almost kind of another life. But years later, they were like, you probably felt it. But it was that expectation and what people were telling you that it was
Right.
supposed to feel like. And
Mhm.
so because you couldn't connect to what they said, you ignored yourself, or I ignored myself. So what would you say different things that what it feels like to be really be embodied?
For me, it's expansive. It's almost like something inside of me just opens up. Um, I can feel the bottoms of my feet. It's almost like I can feel my bones. I can feel the density of my bones. I don't feel heavy. I just am aware of I have spatial awareness, and I'm aware of where I'm at and all the things. I don't know. It's a really good question.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, being in my body and I've done body work for 30 years and energy work for 30 years, so I've had the experience of having to be present with myself for to hold space for another with another.
Mhm.
And so for me that it almost feels like it feels neutral. It feels expansive, it feels calm, it feels open. I don't have a lot of tension in my body. I feel kind of receptive and a little bit floaty, but I feel very grounded. Like I feel myself, I feel my feet, I feel my body. And when I am grounded and balanced and centered like that, typically I have like low back and hip issues.
Mm,
When I feel safe and grounded, I don't feel that. I'll typically have tension here and here. I don't feel that. It feels soft.
Mm.
Mm.
And also I do practices where I bring myself into my senses, and so things seem more clear, like I'm more clear-headed. I see things I haven't seen before. And so there are differences. It just seems like there's more of a flow for
So
me.
there's a word for that. All the things you just described.
What is it?
Authenticity.
We love that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, yes, 100%. I can
Yep.
feel
Mhm.
me.
Yes,
I can
that's
feel.
what it is. You can feel you. And I
Hmm.
and I agree with you were saying, okay, you feel grounded. When I actually try to shift and be into, be in presence, I'm really looking at it and going, okay, let me just sit or stand, but usually I'm sitting and I'm just going, okay, I need to feel everything in my body. Any of the, anything, the nervous and the jumping and the twitching and you know um and it is calming, but then I know that I can be calmer, and I just feel like my body is getting heavier. So it is kind of weighty, but it's saying to me, it's okay, now in my I'm sitting in presence. Actually, that just came up. I'm sitting in presence. I'm sitting in my body. I am here and I'm nowhere else. And so then the clarity comes. If there's something else that I'm trying to work through, if I'm in my head and I come into my body, I go, okay, everything calms down, and now I can think clearly, do whatever I need to do, um, to move me to the next step, whatever that may be. So that's how I feel like, what it feels to be in my body. And I want to touch on, Danny, what you were saying, your practices, and what do you do, or how can you say, you know, when we make that shift, what is it that we can do to make that shift from being stuck in our head to getting back into our bodies? I know there's some immediate techniques that we can do, breath work, movement. We can dance it out, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever it is. There's some long-term practices, different. Oh, like I was thinking movement. I don't know why Anders Alexander technique came up. I learned about that gosh, when I was in school.
That's
Years.
new to me. I don't know what Alexander technique is.
I'm not even going to begin to try
Oh,
and explain it.
I'll
It's
look it up.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was so long ago, but you're basically, and that's something that I need to do. So I realized, oh, if I'm sitting, I may I sway, I move, and I didn't realize that, but people kept saying, Kim, you're moving, you're swaying. Why are you swaying? I don't know. It's just something that I need to do. It feels better for my body. And so maybe, yeah, it's just saying, okay, I'm here. Yeah.
So, okay, so in um differentiation, there's four main steps, right? I know you were asking Kim, but you're talking about this, or I'm sorry, you're asking Danny. But I just want to, you're talking about this and I want to speak to it. So with differentiation, there's four different steps. The first one is you're going to you can maintain your sense of self no matter who you're with, especially those closest to you, because they tend to be reflecting your unfinished business back to you. The second one is soothing your own anxieties. The third
Mhm.
one is controlling your own reactivities. And the fourth one is being able to lean into discomfort for growth. So, what you're touching on, that swaying, is soothing your own anxiety. And that's a technique that people use in order to stay differentiated. So, that was kind of cool. That was
Mm,
fascinating.
okay. Learn something there.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
too. Like, I know the
Yeah.
concept, but to see it applied that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Uh,
that's what's awesome about that awareness, because we can start to understand what is happening in our body and what its purpose is. Right? And our body
mhm.
just automatically like, no, and you're swaying, but your body's taking care of you in that moment. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes we don't really tap into that as consciously. as consciously. And I really feel like, first of all, I feel like all of like the energy, the presence, all of that is energy. It's all energy. And we can let it move through us, or we can let it become stuck in us, or we can,
Mm.
there's so many things we can do with it. It's just like raw Play-Doh. We can make whatever we want. And so with that, it seems like some of these are so simple that they shouldn't work. Like
Mhm.
breath work. Immediately, if you are, there's a way to do it, but even if you were to breathe in through your right nostril, hold it, breathe out through the left, let that pause, bring it in to the left, pause at the top, take it out. That's alternate nostril breathing. And what that does is balances your nervous system in the
Mhm.
moment. And those are things that you use, like if you're in a space where you're like, whoa, my head is swirling, I'm not sure what to do. It gives information to your body that you're safe, you can be calm, right? And those are things that you can use on a short-term basis. Um, Obviously, things like you can feel the ridges of your fingerprints, because that really makes you have to be really, really present. And that's called a pattern interrupt. You can also,
Why? Why does that cause you to be really, really present?
because you, oh, look at that. There's fireworks on my screen.
That was perfect, though.
Cause
Okay.
you to be present because it brings you into your bodily sensation. You have to like get out of your mind and into your body to be able to be that sensitive.
Mm.
Right? And then it just changes the focus, brings the energy there out of whatever space that it may have been in. Movement is another one, shaking, humming, laughing. All of these things are just this expression of energy that needs to be uh,
Mhm.
mobilized, if you will, a lot of times.
And different frequencies mobilize different
Different.
energies, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And over time, you can start to say, oh, that's what anger feels like. That's what anxiety feels like.
Mm.
That's what joy feels like. And they'll have these subtle differences in your body. And what's also cool is you'll also be able to tell if this is your energy or someone else's. Are you sharing it with someone or something else? And that can be a real a subtlety that can be very powerful because we
Mm.
sometimes take on a lot of things and we're using energy around things that are not actually ours to carry.
Okay, I would love that to be a future episode. I think that is that's really relevant.
Yeah, and it's a real thing, and I think being in touch with the body um, gets us in a place where everything is pre-verbal. There's no language for it. It's a body language, and learning your body language and the signals that come from you, whew, it's powerful and rich. And I kind of went somewhere else. Oh, if you're starting to notice those things in your body, then that's just such a beautiful way to navigate authentically.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I forgot where I was going with that piece, but it obviously didn't need to be.
Well, I kind of have a. I want to follow up
Oh,
on
oh,
that.
that's what it was. Do you
Oh yeah,
mind?
yeah.
The
No, no. Go
pre-verbal,
ahead.
the pre-verbal piece. I think sometimes when we're trying to interpret the language of our body into language, it's limiting. And
Mm.
we get
Mhm.
into our limiting beliefs and other things. And so from and that's why the throat is that processor. So from body up into head, like there can be some confusion there.
Mhm.
And so the felt sense, I think, is a more natural, true um, signal.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. The other day I became aware of something that has impacted my life deeply for since probably when I was born. And as I started to verbalize how I was feeling, I literally could feel like I was so aware of what was going on right here, like from my sternum up to my, like the back of my throat. And it was like I could just feel this sensation. And I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. And so as you're talking, I'm sitting here going, what? Like I could tell I was in my body and I was aware. And I'm not necessarily asking you to tell me like what was my body telling me, but I'm just like, what is that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just stab it there. So when energy comes up, it's asking for something. And a lot of times we're asking the question, what is this? And reframing the question into like, feeling into it versus what is this? What does it have to say? I know that
Mm,
sounds so strange sometimes to ask your sensation what it wants to say, but it will speak. It's already speaking. And so you're giving voice to the body, voice to the voiceless, right?
Mhm.
And when you ask it,
Yeah.
it's amazing what comes up. I would encourage you to try that.
okay.
And that's the powerful piece too. Instead of, like someone outside of us telling you what that means, it's your gift to be able to ask it, what does that mean for me? What does it want to say?
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. I actually, when you were saying that, what came up for me was a couple things. It's like, okay, you were experiencing this feeling, this sensation, these emotions, and I have no idea, and I'm, not trying to really get into that or put you on blast, but it's almost like you were have feeling that because maybe when you were younger or at different times or older, you wanted to speak. And what you were feeling was both the need to speak, but the, remembrance of having to shut it down and holding back. So it's like it's fighting each other and fighting to get through, to be able to voice, to have that voice, because it is our throat. It's where we're manifesting through words, because before we didn't have that. It was, the chakras, if you want to go there, but we didn't have that part. um and then when we finally got our throat center, we're just like, oh, now I can speak. When we're speaking in different ways, but we're so used to um, suppressing or repressing things, even though we really want to speak. And if you're a child and, couldn't say anything, or you were told children should be seen and not heard, type of thing. And then as an adult, you're still living by that. And you're just like, you're fighting through it. And that's also the sensation that you're just like, okay, you got to work through that. You got to breathe through that.
Well, and if
That
you think
totally
about,
makes sense.
yeah, if you think about children, I mean, and you see them, they come into the world, they don't have language, and we have to learn how to communicate with them in a pre-verbal sense, and they with
Mhm.
us. And so we're looking at body language for them, and they're doing this when they're hungry, and they're doing this when they don't feel good, and they're doing this, and we still have that developmental way of being. We've just added language to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's very interesting to me. I mean, I could go down that rabbit hole for days. And I mean, that's why I feel like clowning is so fun because it's pre-verbal expression and it's so authentic and true and surprising because our mind keeps a cap on a lot of that stuff and says, you
Mhm.
don't act like that because that's not adult way to do things. And inside it's like,
Yeah.
but I gotta do the thing.
So for people who don't understand, like it seems self-explanatory, but explain what clowning is really quick.
Oh, clowning. So it's not juggling and circus acts. The clowning that I am a part of is it's actually mask work. It's the red nose is the smallest mask in the world. And what it does is it just helps you to explore what is naturally there and how to move through states of emotion in a movement, playful, improvisational group experience. So there's a lot of depth to it. It's really hard to explain, but it really is that very deep self-inquiry of what's already present. And the clowning piece comes in where you take what's already present for you and you amplify it. So if I have a little bit of a like lisp or something, then I would have a really giant lisp with a really silly voice. Right, you just make it more. So you're really just moving into more of you and playing with it. It's so fun.
Hmm. So when you're doing that, I know it's really bringing out a lot of you, that authenticity. But what about the resistance when, if people are like, okay, everyone get up and we're going to do some movement, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And people are like, I don't feel like it, or oh, they're very hesitant. Maybe they're afraid of something that's going to come up. They're afraid of looking silly. And so they have that resistance to moving their body, doing these things that they may know will help them, but they're just like, or they've done the work and they've come across that resistance and then they shut down and they stop. So how, how is it beneficial to for all of this stuff to do these, techniques to help move out of that feeling of, embarrassment or whatever that resistance is, and just say, okay, just be yourself. It's okay. We're all being silly. We're all wearing the red nose,
Yeah.
and this is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I won't spend too much time on this, but first of all, it's a facilitated situation. So nobody is ever thrown into the deep end. There is a space that's created where everyone feels safe. Everyone gets to say how they are feeling, what they're bringing in, where they're at. If there's anything that anyone needs to know, like if they don't like to be touched, if they don't, whatever their boundaries might be,
Consent.
it's all consent. Yeah. And it's set up in such a way that as you're building upon that, as resistance comes up, there's ways that we can work through that energy. And it's different for everyone and it's different, in different situations. But yes, it
Mm,
does happen. And yes, people work through it most of the time very, very beautifully. And that's why it's powerful.
okay, cool. I would like to just for a little bit talk about why it's important for women or men um, to be able to drop down into their body, especially in midlife. What does it mean? And I would say that for me, it's about presence, because so all over the place. There's so much going on in society or in your home and with work. Our attention is everywhere, and we have to bring it back. So if I'm in my mind, or if I'm taking on other people's stuff, or trying to, you know, fix something, or they've come to me to ask advice and things like that, I know that, okay, in order for me to maintain my balance, I need to stand in my presence. And so that's why some of it's important to me. And I realize that the health part of it, there's more of that. But um, for me right now, because I've gone through burnout, there is burnout
Twice.
twice, yes. There was
Yeah,
something I
you're an expert
Yes, there was
on the
something I
recovery.
there was something I did not learn the first time, and I was like, "Why is this happening?" But yeah, and it was, my early and mid 40s, um, that I went through that, and so had I known to, what to do, or even these techniques, or just how to get back into my body and get out of my head and stop trying to fix everything, especially tell people no. That's what I learned the second time. No is a full sentence, and that's boundaries. So that's why I feel like it's really important during this time, because we're also at the point, to borrow, I can't remember her name, but the We Do Not Care Club woman. We get to a certain point, you're going through perimenopause or menopause, and you get to an age where you're just like, I don't care. I don't care. Some can take it to the extreme, and others are just like, yeah, like, oh, my nail's not done, or my hair's not done. You're going to get what you're going to get, because I don't care. This is me. This is who I am. I'm not putting on, this front for you. I'm not going to do this for you. If I want to get pretty, I'm going to do it for me.
Yeah, no more over functioning.
Yes,
Or performance, like
definitely no more performance. So I'm wondering, like, why is it important for you guys during this time in your life?
This time being
midlife, 40s, the decade. Let's just say for anyone, you know what? I'm even going to say 38 to, let's say, 55. We're going to expand it a little bit because you can still feel a certain way in your 30s because you're coming
Yeah.
up into it. So, and some people may have good 40s, but then feel it when they hit 50. So during that, time period, that age range, why is it important to be like, it's important to know myself, that authenticity, to, you know, be able to distinguish that dissonance, that mind body, and say, I'm up here. I can't be that, or find that balance.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
for me it's quality of life, really. Um I think I just turned 50 last year and something clicked. Boom. I have been a people pleaser. I have been a perfectionist. I've burned out a couple of times myself, and it's not worth it. It is not worth it. I feel like I have this one life. And more than anything, I feel like I need to be true to myself. And when I am true to myself, everyone benefits. So
Mhm.
for me, it's living in myself, my authenticity fully. It is
Mhm.
being an example of that. It's showing that it is possible. And there's a lot going on when you get to this spot. I mean, even earlier, like you said, like hormonal shifts and stress responses and all of these things. And I have to sit back and I think, like, how is it that I really want to feel in my life? And what does that look like?
Mhm.
So it just suddenly becomes so much more about me. And when I am empowered, I empower others. That's the bottom line for me.
Along those same lines, the thought that was coming to me was, so first of all, I'm a proactive person. That's my nature. And it's easy to get into that anxious space because if I'm not embodied and I'm all up in my head, then I will be anxious, thinking and fearing about the future. Um, and the thing about that I've experienced, I guess I can't speak for everybody else, but the thing that I've experienced is there's these experiences that I've had previous. I'm 49. So there's all of these previous experiences I've had. And now my body's going through all of these shifts and it's going through these changes. And my body is telling me that I need to be listening. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. So I won't go there. But there's things that I need to pay attention to, and I need to be able to navigate through that. But that learning of how to navigate through it has already come. And so now it's repeating the learning. And now I'm in that wisdom space. Like, I had these experiences prior to this, in childhood, in adolescence, and in young adulthood. And so um oh, I'm trying to keep it short because like I could totally go off on this.
Yeah.
But I I don't know. I think there's this it matters for me because the changes, like, change will be constant. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable. And so to become more aware and going back to that authenticity, like there's things that I've experienced. And then there's the learning that came from that experience. And then that wisdom is when those two things come together, when there's that juxtaposition of learning and experience that becomes understanding. And now I can really work with my body and my mind and my brain to inform me, like what Danny was saying, quality of life, improving that. And just, this isn't the end, right? So,
Yeah, and that's so
Yeah.
important. This isn't the end. This is actually a beginning.
mhm.
Hmm.
And that feels really fun.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is why I call you the purposeful architect. Yeah. Um, and it is about trusting your inner wisdom. And we get that as you know, as we get older. And it's great. So it's about our bodies, reclaiming our bodies as an act of self-sovereignty,
Mm.
to know who we are outside of conditioning, outside of programming, and outside of the things that come from all of that, like you said, the people pleasing, and how just wondering, how do I look to other people, trying to prove yourself when you don't have to, all of it, and just being who you are, being authentic and having that autonomy. It's really important, to be able to do that and learn that. So even if you didn't learn that in naturally, it's important to me. I believe that in this time and space of midlife, quote midlife, um, we have to start to learn and get back to ourselves, because we're so trapped in the lives of everybody else, and especially with social media and people, performing and putting out there what they want everybody to see. And it's like, but that's not always real. That's not how everyone is authentically, or just, their true self. It's just who they want you to see.
Well, and I want to speak to that for just a tiny bit because I think mentally, like, it's easy to go to that place of I'm trying to figure out how to one up everybody. Like that's easy to go into that space when we think about performative or we think about what is, how do I want everyone to see me? We think about how can I be better than everyone? Like that's the automatic space. But
Hmm.
there's a whole nother side to that, which is how do I fly under the radar? How do I beat the criticism? How do I outrun the criticism? And that is over functioning. And that's that being concerned about what everyone is thinking so that you are able to gauge the threats and outsmart them or outrun them. And we don't need to do that, but that is a tendency that we do when we're in that fight or flight space.
Hmm.
So just two sides of that coin.
Yeah. And on that note, I think we can begin to wrap up. We've had a great conversation, ladies, and we've explored the mental maze of overthinking. We've discovered what it means to really drop into our bodies, and we've gone through some practical tools to really help us learn how to do this on a daily basis, or whenever we need it, or the breathing, the movement, all of that stuff. Um, and it just really helps us understand how to make that shift when we need to. And we also talked about why it matters, why it's important during this time as we navigate midlife. So before we kind of close out this episode, do you guys have any final thoughts, any takeaways from this? Dori, I know you do, but
I mean, I know we all do, but if we do this, we're gonna go another like 2 hours. So I think we've touched on some really important things and we've created a nice foundation to move forward in. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, my thoughts. I mean, I do always have final thoughts. I think I just said them though, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
But I really just want to say how excited I am about being in this space and being able to have this conversation with the both of you. I don't think for those of you who are listening, you have no idea the like just these two women alone, Dannie and Kim, you've hit the jackpot. You've hit the gold mine. Like this is going to be an amazing conversation in episodes to come. So I'm just so excited to be here. And this has been a really engaging and I would say uplifting and edifying conversation for me. Very expansive.
Nice, thank you. It's funny when you were just saying that, I got a notice on my phone saying it's time to pause. I have one of the Gene Keys app that it says like, oh, take a pause, be present. So that just popped up there. And that's how I do, you know, my my take time to be present. So I have a challenge, before we go, for any of our listeners and viewers to just take one of the techniques that we were talking about. I know we kind of went through them really quickly, but you know, Google is our friend. Um, so is Chat GPT apparently. But pick one that resonates with you most and commit to, you know, doing 5 minutes a day and see what happens. Notice what resistance, if any, comes up, and just how it feels to really give your body a voice again. And if you do get stuck, just breathe through it. Just allow it because it's trying to tell you something, and that's really what's important. So yeah. Okay, so on that note, I am going to ask you guys, you ladies, what are we talking about for the next few episodes this season? What's going to come up?
Yeah, there's a lot that's going to come up that we don't know. That's a mystery. I love that. But
Mhm.
we're going to touch on topics like conditioning, right? Like the things that happen in our lives that layer on top of us that aren't necessarily us, our true selves. Resiliency. How what are the pieces and parts of that? How does that apply? Capacity, building capacity to sit in the discomfort and or be aware of what is happening with your body and your environment. Is it yours? All kinds of things like that. Um, what else? Yeah, those are just a few of the things, and I'm sure that they will grow because there's so much depth in all of these
Mhm.
topics. So we are doing so good at just keeping it.
We're
Days. I'm so proud of us.
yes, everything is expansive, right? And on that note, to our listeners and viewers, we want to thank you for joining us on our journey of awareness and embodiment. Um, we know the fog is real, but so is the clarity that comes. And just remember, when you begin to see the hiccup as a gift, that hot flash becomes your power move. And just remember that. So if you have enjoyed today's episode, then like and share with your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever you want to share it with, that feel like they will get something out of this conversation. And if you have any questions, or want to continue the conversation, go ahead and leave us a comment, and we will respond. And maybe, if you also want to join us for something, then maybe we'll, invite you on our show. Who knows? All right. So that's it. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Bye, everyone.